Have you ever wondered just how healthy your relationship is? Or perhaps you're wondering if you're in a toxic relationship. In this video, I'm going to guide you through the 6 categories I think about when I'm working clinically with someone and assessing their relationship health. Each of these categories has subcategories, so by the end of this video, you will know just how healthy your relationship is. So we've all heard the term toxic relationships, but there's actually no standard definition of what this is, so it tends to mean a lot of different things to different people. The thing about the 6 categories I've chosen is that they definitely have elements of dysfunction to them. And too many check marks in each of these categories means that we're leaning towards a very unhealthy relationship, and if not, a toxic relationship. So go grab pen and paper or download the worksheet from mypeoplepatterns.com. Let's get started. One more quick thing, please hit like or subscribe to help our channel grow. One of the first things I'm looking for when I'm assessing a relationship is how reactive both parties are. So we're all prone to become more reactive at some point, particularly when we're under too much stress. But what I'm looking for is really how bad does it get when there's a conflict. So a toxic relationship might have someone who's very, very volatile with an explosive temper. And of course, this includes violent or aggressive outbursts. Threats to leave are of particular concern to me as they are destabilizing to a relationship, which is supposed to be a safe and secure place for both parties. Repeated threats to leave that don't have any follow through are about manipulating the other person to comply with the behavior. Rather than take responsibility for their part in a conflict, the reactive person will blame other people, other things, other situations, rather than sort of owning up to their part in it. Power is one of the greatest sources of conflict in a relationship. Ideally, a relationship consists of an equal balance of responsibility. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a couple will take turns cooking each night, but it could mean that if one person cooks, the other person cleans. There's an equal division that gets negotiated almost unconsciously. When there's a struggle for power in a relationship, though, it becomes a game of one up and one down. Criticism and disdain are 2 of the more common toxic traits that have been identified that are a really destructive form of putting a partner beneath you. Subtle forms of disdain include eye-rolling and mocking or mimicking. Lying or deceiving is the final category here, and I think on a repeated basis this is definitely a toxic trait. And gaslighting is even more destructive and toxic, which is lying to your partner and then having them question their sanity. So it's the combination of lying and then gaslighting is guaranteed to make this a toxic relationship, and I think the number one trait that would distinguish dysfunctional and toxic. It's very natural at the start of a relationship to want to spend every moment of the day with your partner. This is the exciting, giddy parts of falling in love. However, this stage does need to end, and a return to more balance between friends, family, and the new relationship needs to occur. When and if it doesn't, an individual's well-being is thrown off, and this can be dysfunctional, especially if one partner is insisting that friends and family time is limited. Sometimes a person can be so negative that they overanalyze every interaction between their partner completely out of their own insecurity. This ultimately drives the more secure partner away and can cause a self-fulfilling prophecy about relationships. Other times, the insecurity can lead to interrogation of the partner's whereabouts, and they can become convinced of affairs or deceit without justifiable cause. When people in a relationship can't communicate feelings clearly, both good and bad feelings, emotional distance occurs. So all relationships are going to have some degree of emotional distancing. We're just not built to be 100% intimate and emotionally connected all of the time. We do need some space and autonomy from our relationship. But when emotional distance is used manipulatively or too frequently, we might be crossing into more toxic behaviors, especially if this is deliberate withholding or the cold shoulder, which are prime examples of more toxic behaviors. In general, deficits in emotional literacy can cause stagnation or dysfunction in a relationship. Hopefully most adults can name more feelings than mad, sad, and glad, but it's often surprising to me how challenging it is for adults to know what they're feeling and communicate it clearly in the moment. Our psychological defenses are all about avoiding feelings, so to some extent we all do this. However, relationships are all about communication. So when one person avoids talking about difficult situations or difficult feelings, whether about anger or hurt feelings, the couple can never grow together or work through disagreements. I see a lot of families in my private practice who are conflict avoidant, and it leads to so much emotional distance because there's a build-up of hurt feelings that never get soothed, healed, and of course where there's conflict avoidance, there's no conflict resolution. And conflict resolution is actually how couples get closer together, where they work out their differences and come together to find solutions that work for each of them. This is an obvious thing to state, but it does take two people to be in a relationship. So when one person is not as invested as the other, the relationship is by definition dysfunctional. Now, taken to an extreme, this is what narcissism is: someone who has great difficulty in considering other people. We all have narcissistic traits to varying degrees, so just because you spot some traits in your partner doesn't mean that the relationship is toxic or they're a narcissist. It might lean that way when one person has a foot out of the door due to these traits and isn't taking responsibility for their relationship, or there isn't a collaborative dynamic. And taken even one step further, people in a healthy relationship will want to protect their partners out of love and care. And when this is missing, there might be some relationship issues brewing that lean towards toxic or dysfunctional. My hope is that you didn't tick any of these boxes off because you're in a perfectly healthy relationship. But if you think I missed any traits, please let me know in the comments and I'll update this.